All we can absolutely say about ourselves for certain is that we are aware. That's all we can really say for certain. And within that all-encompassing awareness, which can be considered a peer view, and that it is all-encompassing and includes and contains everything, within that totally clear peer view of awareness are included and contained all points of view. And all points of view, and points of view is another term for appearances or phenomena or thoughts, emotions, and experiences. All of those that appear are points of view of that awareness. In other words, they're just points of clear awareness and nothing else. And when they appear, most of us have been trained to hold to those points of view and take them to have an independent existence or independent identity, whether it's the point of view of being an individual, in other words, a personal identity, or any other point of view that's associated with that personal identity. And when we tense and hold to those points of view, all that's happening is that we have a free-flowing choice of how we use our awareness. As human beings, we have a choice of how we use our awareness. And it isn't even important to know who has the choice or why we have the choice. Those are questions a journalist would ask. And we all see what journalists have made of the world. Most journalists have made of the world. So we don't really even need to know the answers to those questions. All we need to know is that this simple process occurs, that there is awareness, and it either holds to points of view that appear, and when it holds to a point of view that appears, it discriminates about that point of view. In other words, it decides that the point of view is positive or negative, or that it is something to indulge or renounce. And in doing so, it throws us into a belief in a world of points of view in which all points of view have an independent existence of some kind, whether they're positive or negative, and we spend our entire life discriminating whether or not everything we see is positive or negative. When we elect to do so, that's just a simple choice we have. We can spend our life lost in the illusion that all points of view have an independent existence other than awareness, or we can just relax the hold on points of view, completely relax the hold on points of view. And that's what it means to let point of view be as it is. It means we just relax the belief, whatever it is that we've been believing in. And for many of us, we have so many beliefs in so many points of view that when we just relax the belief in one point of view and let that point of view be as it is, it holds up, it frees up our need to hold to other points of view. So it isn't that this is one point of view at a time we're addressing. When we realize that any point of view does not have an independent nature, in meaning that it does not have an independent nature, the meaning is that the nature of the point of view itself is not independent of awareness. So the point of view itself has no independent existence, no independent identity, no substance or characteristics of its own. Everything that appears, it has no substance or characteristics of its own. It has no independent nature. It is not substantial in its own right. When we believe that everything is substantial in its own right, then we believe in everything we see as though it is independent and that it's something to accept or reject. And if it's something we want to reject, it's something we want to get rid of. And if it's something we accept, we want to hold on to that. So all of our life we spend trying to hold on to certain points of view and get rid of other points of view. But neither of these is possible. It's impossible to hold to the ones we like, and it's impossible to get rid of all the negative points of view that we don't like. So we expend our entire life energy over the course of our entire lifetime trying to hold on to what we can never hold on to and trying to get rid of what we can't get rid of. So what to do? What to do about this? Just relax. Just relax. And all of the labels that are attributed to all of the different points of view, they're just as empty as the point of view itself. They describe what has no substance and characteristics of its own. And if we want to make sense of our own inner life or the world we live in, the best way to go about that is to just relax and no longer hold to all the points of view that have been conventionally described as being something. And what happens when we do so is that rather than relying on all the words in the dictionary to form meaning out of our lives, we begin to rely on wisdom, the wisdom of awareness that is the basis of all appearances. So in that, then, we can begin to clearly see through points of view. We can begin to cut through points of view. We can begin to see these points of view as they are. That even though they have conventionally described something to us, that this is something we have just learned. It doesn't mean that it's true. It doesn't mean that it's the true nature of reality.